I moved back to the farm after going to college, and then I was in the Peace Corps, and the family needed a little help on the farm, and I moved back to Thornton, Iowa. One day, a neighbor called me up and said, "I have a sow with 5 pigs, and I'll give you the pigs if you buy the sow." And that sounded like a good deal to me. So I bought this sow with 5 pigs, and that was the beginning of me getting in the pig business. In those days, a lot of people were kind of getting out of the field raising of pigs, and so there was a lot of used equipment around, and I bought a lot of that stuff for very little money, and started setting up some of these pasture systems like you see here at Paul Brown's farm. And anyway, I continued to do this, and within a few years, I'd expanded my hog production to the point where I was raising about 2,500 pigs a year. And they all started from that one original sow and these other few gilts that I'd purchased. I really was in the hog business, and for a number of years I sold pigs to the open market. And what was happening in the late 80s and so on was confinement operations started moving into the area. And I went to meetings, and they were put on by whether it was a co-op or another feed company, and they were saying, you have to get bigger or get out. And someplace in there, I had a chance to visit one of these confinement operations, and I just did not see anything better than I was doing at that point. And so I continued raising pigs, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the animals being out on the pasture or even in the barns in the winter using bedding. So our standards really were based on the natural inclinations of the animal. The sow has to be in a situation where they have bedding. They're able to, when they give birth, they have to be able to make a nest. They have to have plenty of room. We have basically kind of two kinds because we have winter and summer here. So the deep bedded system is primarily based on the Swedish system that Sweden had developed based on the fact that they had outlawed the confinement buildings, and they devised a deep bedded system. So, like hoop houses and things like that. And then the outdoor system where the animals are living in community groups like this. I wasn't raising pork chops. That was the thing. I was raising pigs, and I had to find somebody that was interested in buying the whole pig. I had a number of places where I could sell pigs, and they weren't paying as much for outdoor raised pigs. One of the reasons they didn't yield as much, I had never really gone for the other white meat, the lean type of raising pigs, and I'd stayed with different lines of pigs that really thrived and did well outdoors. And so they carried a little more fat. They were really bred to be in these outdoor systems. They did well in the summer, well in the winter. It got me thinking a little bit, and I didn't like being paid less for these pigs I was raising, which in my estimation were much better. So anyway, I visited my sister in the West Coast, someplace in there, and I always liked to go to grocery stores and see what was up and coming, what was interesting, what was new, and you'd see free-range chicken. And the reason free-range chicken had a market was, and the market being almost twice as much, was because people liked the taste. It tasted better. But it just occurred to me that maybe there was a place for free-range pigs, and that sent me out on a journey to try to figure that out. I knew that if I was going to do this, I had to identify the market. Where would people be interested in this? Jeannie McCormick, a Peace Corps friend of mine, had a ranch outside of San Francisco. And San Francisco seemed to be a very logical place where there was a food culture, people were interested, might be interested. Jeannie was telling me about Bill Nyman at the time that was helping market her lamb. And she had moved back to their ranch in Rio Vista, started raising lamb. The lamb market had fallen apart, and they were trying to figure out how to get more out of their lamb. They started direct marketing to restaurants, this type of thing. Her cousin, Marcia McBride, was a chef, and that kind of connected Jeannie to Bill Nyman, and she told me the whole story, and I said, well, we have to meet. And we called Bill. Next day we had lunch at the burger joint in San Francisco. I told Bill what I was doing, and he is like excited about this, and he said, send me some pork. So after all this, and really a number of years, didn't happen immediately, but it was an idea, and it really looked like things were happening. So I was excited. I came back to Iowa. I took some pork out of the freezer, shipped it to the West Coast, and Bill sent it around to some restaurant customers. Alice Waters, Chez Panisse was probably one of the most famous, Zuni Cafe and others, and they really loved the eating quality of the pork. They were real excited about this, and I remember him saying, Chez Panisse loves it. I had no idea what he was talking about. What is Chez what? So anyway, he explained this, and that was kind of one of the introductions that I had to some of the restaurants, the restaurant world, and so on. He said, well, we have to figure this out. And so I started doing my homework. I went to Supreme Pack. I wanted them to custom slaughter for me, and they were very helpful because I really didn't know how this worked. And I'd had instructions earlier that, yeah, we need to do this, but the pork needs to be here 5:30 Monday morning. So you have to figure it out. How does a live animal get from my farm, a farm like this, how does it get to San Francisco 5:30 Monday morning? And it has to be on a certain time, and the truck takes off and drives to the West Coast, and we did it the first time. 30 pigs delivered February 1995, and they got there 5:30 Monday morning. It was certainly an exciting time. When I started supplying pigs, it was fairly evident that very shortly I wasn't going to have enough supply. So back to the time we shipped 30 pigs, a couple weeks it was 34 pigs, 36 pigs, so I was shipping pigs about every 2 weeks. I didn't have a lot of pigs born in the middle of January, so there was a time in the summer I was really running short of pigs, and that's when I started looking for other farmers. I met Diane Halverson at this time. We ended up writing the protocol for the animal welfare protocol. Diane Halverson at the time worked for the Animal Welfare Institute, and I met her not far from here at a meeting where people were voicing their concerns about some of the hog factories that were being put up in this area. And Diane got up in front of this big crowd, and she said, what about the animals? Nobody was really saying that. They were talking about the economy, whether it would smell or didn't smell, this and that. And I really had the feeling there were a number of people that wanted to say that, but she had the courage to really bring up that part of it. Part of my goal was to distance myself as far as possible from industrial way of raising pigs. So what better way would than to have some kind of a stamp of approval on animal welfare. So I contacted Diane, and she was very excited about this as well. And as a result, my farm was the first farm in the United States approved with an animal welfare seal of approval, if you will. We can raise pigs without antibiotics because the system that we use, like this, doesn't put stress on the animals. And allowing them to be in an environment they can have more space and be pigs allows them to stay healthy. Nyman Ranch started with with farmers and ranchers. You know, it was people that were raising livestock in a humane way, a clean way, if you will, that were responsible for creating the market, and eventually led to the Nyman Ranch brand and what it is we have today. The market itself, the brand, I think is really important. The integrity of our brand we're known nationally. When I started this 20 years ago, I never really imagined that it would grow to what it is today. It wasn't a company that said, okay, let's have a brand and then we'll go out and find it. It came from the ground up. It's really a grassroots company.